So for that reason, there is much convincing power to support President Ruto as opposed to any other candidate, as things stand today.
All right.
So those are the presidential level. At the county level, especially the Malava by-elections and the decisions people have taken are purely based on the local politics that are there. For example, you've seen Malala and Halwale, who are supposed to oppose each other in the gubernatorial position, supporting one candidate.
The choice for ODM to not fill the candidate in Malava, that's a huge one, given the fact that ODM was the biggest party in that region.
And now that's where we talk about Governor Oparanya being under President Ruto's government. So for the convincing power of ODM, it was better off for them to support the UDA candidate based on the broad-based arrangement. Yeah.
So, but it is right to say that ODM is going into these celebrations a much more subdued party than it was in 2022. If we can just look at the matrix, what we've discussed about Western Kenya now.
ODM is going into these celebrations much stronger and much more positioned.
Why would you base your answer on?
Malava seat was held by Malulu Injendi of ANC. And ANC since merged with UDA. And so, in the Western political matrix, it was reasonable for ODM to leave it to UDA because that was the tradition that was previously held by, indeed, UDA. And that's an agreement. And in politics of collaboration and coalitions, you must respect the traditional base of the other party. There is a strong organic combination of ODM membership and UDA backyards and Kenya Kwanza, very strongly, and it's very organic. The president is doing it. We saw the president in Western, and in Western Kenya, the president has managed to demonstrate the policy and political pillars of the broad-based government, both ODM and Kenya Kwanza, very strongly, by putting people together organically at the grassroots. And that has happened in Western. And we will see when it gets to Malaba. It doesn't matter. There are people who can take diametrically opposed positions in those regions. But that is their political right. But that does not mean they have influenced the people at that level. ODM in this by-election, you will see them bagging Ugenya seat very comfortably.
That's exactly what bagging in one region.
And bagging Kasibul Kapondo and bagging Magarini in Coast region. And this will be clear signals that ODM has remained strong, and even with the coalition with the broad-based, it is more assured. It is now in government. It's not going into elections in 2027 being in government. ODM is already in government.
But the president appears to have seen a weakness
the only
here,
thing
that ODM
that needs to be done.
And Raila Odinga running for president for the last 3-4 elections has depended a lot on support from other regions, especially Ukambani. And that's why the president is going to Ukambani.
Yeah, of course there were coalitions.
He realize that ODM as it is right now may not be enough.
Of course there were coalitions, and the president is engaged in organic activities, contrary to what Mba has been talking about. We saw the president in Kajiado and Samburu, and it's quite palpable that those great pastoral communities are strongly inside and firmly within the broad-based government arrangement. And in those regions, that is where we had significant support also of ODM leadership. We saw the president yesterday in Ugambani, and today and tomorrow, and the president is working on a See Believe program of organically bringing Kenyans together and fighting the practice of exclusion and what some leaders are doing to consign some citizens outside the mainstream activities of government of the Republic of Kenya. And so when you look at what the president is doing, bringing the people together, even in unlikely backyards. When the president started visiting Nyanza way back before the broad-based, people wrote him off. But
you do agree.
People wrote him off.
You must agree with Dr. Mbayo when
people
he says that
off.
What the president is after is probably the kind of support that formed Azimio. That he does realize that ODM alone may not give him that.
The president is not reasoning from political party angles. The president is reasoning from the bigger principle of uniting the country and restructuring the political architecture of this country and letting the people practice their democratic rights wherever they are without necessarily being consigned to ethnic fiefdoms. So when he spends a lot of time in Ukambani, he is communicating with the people. And by the way, the president has members of parliament of UDA in Ukambani. It is a fact. Okay. And he has other members from other friendly parties like Maendeleo Chapchap, and has a minister from Maendeleo Chapchap. Okay. And we have seen the president organically engaging the people directly in Ukambani, the way he did in Luo Nyanza. And let me tell you, this is one president who has been able to break the ceiling of selfish political parties' agenda of consigning people to their ethnic fiefdom.
The other big area of concern and support for the ODM party, and incidentally that's where they've taken their celebrations, is the coast region. And I saw you shaking your head when he said that the Margarine by-election will definitely go to ODM. Are you saying that the support base for ODM in the coast region has also shifted?
I like the passion with which Sasson is talking. That's how we used to talk the first year. But you cannot talk that way the fourth year. You are supposed to do. People should be seeing results. You cannot talk so passionate about, uniting the nation, the one Kenya, everybody together. Those are stories now.
It's a continuous job.
Listen.
It's continuous.
You cannot say such kind of thing. People are paining when everything is corrupt. I don't want to hear that story. Ask me, because I know. All that is hogwash. It is skirmish. It will not work. All these stories you hear about Singapore and all that, please ask me. Nothing is going to happen. It's all another narrative. You go do 4 years, instead of giving a record of what you have done, basic things like SHA and education, you begin saying, I have another 3 things I want to do. Come on, please. People are very clever these days. People can see how SHA, completely, billions are getting lost.
That's just a pessimistic
Let me ask you, Fred. A woman from my village of Erbagon cannot have the access to come and steal money from SHA. It is the big boys who created SHA, who are stealing from SHA. Today we even don't know which system we are using in education. Stop it there. So let me ask you a question, Fred. One, Oparanya was one of the people who was supposed to be sacked if there was going to be a cabinet reshuffle, because he can see the ground is moving. This is my
against Oparanya, against Mudavadi.
Let me tell you.
What is wrong?
Where are you getting
let me tell you, Fred.
Western people, you'll get an opportunity to challenge.
He mentioned Oparanya. I'm giving him something that I know. Number 2, Marava. The end of ODM, was Marava. They were intimidated by yet they say, imagine, out of 11 MPs right now from Kakamega, 9, I think 10, are in ODM today. But they have been intimidated by UDA. How do you compare what UDA is doing in Western? We are going to see a proper thrashing during the by-elections. That one I can tell you today. And that will be the end of ODM in Western, to be taken over immediately by the united opposition, right? You can see Marara, it has been a debate here, but finally we are all together because we can see the bigger picture. Now, Magarini, you're going to see what's going to happen. Out of the by-elections, we are going to scoop Mbere, we are going to scoop Magarini, we are going to do Pulko in Kajiado, opposition now, we are going to do Narok Town, we are going to do 2 out of 3 in Kisii. The united opposition.
None of us is a prophet.
So I can tell you this.
Let's wait for 27.
Bungoma, we are going to take the united opposition. Kisa East, we are going to take. So what I can tell you is this. This is going to be the indication of what is going to happen. Now, but let me say this. Kalonzo, because the president is going to be there for 4 days, let me tell you something, just in 1 minute. How do you come and tell Kalonzo that right now he's a front runner for the united opposition ticket? One of the front runners, right? Then you come and tell him to come and queue to become a proposed DP for William Ruto, when already the same promise is made to Anga. You can see the sister, Ludo Odinga, is saying also she can vie for president, meaning she would also want to be a deputy president. You can see Musalia Mudavadi, our good man, harmless, just there. He's not being promised the deputy president. Kidiki is a presumptive for the Mount Kenya. Then Kalonzo comes and queues us at number 5, so that he can be humiliated again, to be asked to go for an interview which he fails. So let me tell you. And you see, the president believes everybody has a price. I can tell you today, Wavinya told us, he had been promised 3 billion 2 CSs, and PSs. The president believes, even when he has messed up everything in this country, when he has messed up the Mount Kenya that gave him 47%, everybody has a prize. He can go buy Kalonzo. Now let me tell you.
I want to give the two gentlemen an opportunity to challenge.
Something very interesting. Can I tell you something very interesting? If today God would appear to President Ruto in a dream and tell him to say a wish, is how he can get Rigathi Gachagua, give him back the job, take it from Kidiki back, give him back the job and limousines just to get the Mount Kenya vote in 27. That is how desperate.
The biggest
let me
problem
tell you, but I can tell you what.
We were talking about
is narrowing everything
I'm just
to
telling you.
Rigathi Gachagua.
I'm just telling you.
They have narrowed down
So
that everything is about Rigathi Gachagua.
Allow him to finish. I'll come to you next.
Let me tell my point.
I'll come to you
Let me
next.
tell you. Kenyans said at 3 years, Ruto at 3, 75% disapproves of his leadership. I can tell you today seated here, in a nutshell. By the time we go to the election,
Which survey was that?
Our focus now is on ODM.
Yes, it's on ODM.
But since he has digressed, we need to deal with that.
80%.
No, he wants to speak.
We'll come to that.
Disapproval.
We'll come to DCP.
We'll have a disapproval.
Yes.
Now,
do you disagree
Dr. Mbai is focusing so much on Rigathi Gachagua as having lost the job. Because Mount Kenya is intact as far as the government representation was concerned. In fact, there are more than 8 ministers, more than 17 PSs. Which other community has that kind of number? Just because Rigathi Gachagua lost the job as deputy president does not mean that Mount Kenya lost their opportunities. In any case, the other day I saw the president, the cabinet, passing, resolving that they are going to dual Kiambu Road. Kiambu Road is in Mount Kenya region. And the president, again, other than talking to Wananchi, he's working. Unlike what Rigathi Gachagua and the bandwagon is focused on, because they are focusing on politics all through and through. But the president is visiting every part of this country to ensure that there is equity and equitable development. Okay. Remember in 2007, when Mike Kibaki had lost in the referendum, and they were going towards the campaigns, there's no day President Mike Kibaki ever stepped in Nyanza, Raila's stronghold, his opponent's stronghold. But President Ruto has gone to all other parts of the country, including those ones that are perceived to be opposing him, for the purposes of development. And you know, when you get away from this city noise, you know, the city
do you
has
think
a lot
it's
of
because
noise.
he realizes that ODM alone may not really give him the numbers he needs, that he needs the original support that probably was Azimio, and that's why he's going to
Of course,
combine?
he'll get that support. I was just getting to that the rural folks believe in delivery of services. They are issue-based. The noise we make in the city because of social media, we make a lot of, even these so-called demonstrations that we organize and protests, are city-based because our mindset is very different from the village mindset. Because in the village, you see tangible things like the roads network being developed. You see the subsidy of fertilizers. You promote agriculture like that. The way the president came up with subsidizing production as opposed to subsidizing consumption. The rural folks all over the country are so much aware of the program, the progress that the president has made.
Yes.
And the voting, getting back to ODM, I look at the Pentagon of 2007. The Pentagon of 2007 had President William Ruto, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, and the late Honorable Raila Odinga as the main guys. Then there was Balala and Joe Nyaga. It is strongly believed that the President or the Right Honorable Raila Odinga won the 2007 elections. And if that matrix is repeated with the support of Mount Kenya that is there and other regions, because whatever these people declare, Dr. Mbai declare, are just sweeping numbers. They have never embarked on research to find out who has what on the ground.
Okay.
So if the Pentagon, as it were at that time, is reformed in that arrangement, plus the kind of convincing power that the president has, and by virtue of him being the incumbent president, it will be a landslide for the president in 2027.
All right, but ODM will just be a part of that cog and not really the main driving force. You must agree, yeah?
ODM will be a dominant member of the next government coalition that will be a product of the election. And that coalition will be a coalition to transform Kenya, to continue transforming Kenya and leave it to the first world. If you look at what the president is doing, in terms of politically organizing the citizens, he's doing it very well, very organically, at the grassroots. And when you talk about leaping the country to the first world, you must develop every part of the country, and you must mobilize and organize people. You know, there is what you call organizing. so that people understand your agenda, people believe in your agenda, and people see what you are doing. When you see the president focusing on roads infrastructure across the country, when he was in Samburu, he was able to outline the road programs within that region. When he was in Ukambani, we saw him unveiling a bridge that has been a problem to the Ukambani people for a long time, and outlining how to develop the roads infrastructure within that county, including housing and markets. The best way to drive an economy is to work on road infrastructure, work on housing infrastructure, and the markets. And you see that's what the president is doing. When he stated that we must have Kenya leap to be a first world in our lifetime, he was not waiting for a conference or a political rally to negotiate with Kenyans how to do it. He is already doing it, and he is already mobilizing people to that level. And the little elements that builds up together to take us to that direction is already moving in a tremendous way politically. And that ODM is organically understanding. When you see the entire ODM moving to Mombasa, and their main guest during those celebrations is the president, who is a partner in their government, and who, before the death of Raila Odinga, worked very openly and honestly, as opposed to the handshake. You see, ODM was taken to the handshake government. They didn't get any minister, they didn't get any PS, they didn't get any appointment. They was loosely rotating around a non-beneficial arrangement. But with this one, even before signing an agreement, the president had already moved to ODM zones and mobilized development.
Right.
And before signing any agreement, the president had already appointed 5 ministers.
Okay.
After signing the agreement, the president has appointed 17 PSS. We will not have a president who is so deliberate in ensuring national equity and mobilizing development in every part of the country, regardless of the political feelings, like what President William Ruto is doing. And that is a fact. And that actually is a sickness of the weak, united opposition who cannot visit the people.
Allow me, Dr.
We only see them in some weak press conferences.
Allow us to move on from that. ODM at 20, the celebrations kick off in Mombasa today. It is a 4-day celebration starting today until Sunday, of course culminating in the bigger celebrations, which will be graced by none other than the President William Ruto. We only have exactly 9 minutes, so 3 minutes each for the next discussion, and that is what features on the front page of the Star today. They say, headache for Gachagua as Uhuru roars in Mount Kenya. Now, this has been a big discussion since the Jubilee meeting last week, and the former president made some very consequential pronouncements on not insulting, and for the very first time he mentioned the DCP party leader by name, Rigathi Gachagua. Yet what we've seen from the other side is that has been met by a lot of suspicion, and they say that Jubilee is a red wheelbarrow. What exactly is the problem here, and is it true that this